Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Championship Check-In podcast with myself, Benjamin Bloom, and the great Sam Parkin. Sam, it often gets said that the Championship is completely mental and bonkers and the best league in the world. And I think this midweek round kind of exemplifies that fact. We had a little bit of everything, loads of shocks, narrative here, there, everywhere. We are going to look at the top of the table and the bottom of the table. So we won't be looking at the playoff race because there's so much to say elsewhere. But what a midweek, Sam.
Yeah, a few days that just completely encapsulates the Championship, what it's all about. Shows like what we do and, trying to predict outcomes and stuff like that at times, you're made to look ridiculous because, why do we do it? Why do we think, Leeds are home and hosed, Burnley are up, Sheffield United are up, and then Leeds go and lose at Portsmouth, and then Portsmouth subsequently lose at home to Argyle. It's just, that is the Championship. And I kind of went into the game at Sheffield United on Tuesday with that mindset, and I think Chris Wilder in his comments pre-match was really respectful of Bristol City and just knows when you get ahead of yourself or start counting the points, it can bite you in the backside. And we've seen that in abundance last few days.
We have, definitely. Right. We will get to a seismic round at the bottom of the table. But of course, we have to talk about the top first. And it's just completely binary, this. So at the weekend, you already mentioned Leeds losing at Pompey. And if you factor in the previous round as well, we had Leeds drawing. So there was a 5-point swing from all of the other three sides towards Leeds. Then this round, it goes completely the other way. So Leeds did the job against Millwall last night after Sheffield United, Burnley and Sunderland had all drawn on Tuesday night. Talk to me a bit about Leeds first, Sam. And I suppose the Leeds fans will be thinking, no drama, nice and calm, 2-0 home win. I said in the predictions, I think they'll score early and they needed to, and they did. But yeah, that's exactly what Leeds needed. And I think people forget, Sam, at this point, with all their projections and looking at the fixtures, it's just a race. Just stay in first place. Whatever happens, just stay in first place. But talk to me about Leeds 2, Millwall 0.
Yeah, again, I think Chris Wilder talked about point accumulation the other day, and I suppose that's, just shedding light on probably a lot of the comments about probably them, Blades and Burnley as well, not playing brilliant free-flowing football. Doesn't matter, especially this stage of the season. Different ways to skin a cat, as we've seen throughout this campaign. Yeah, I flicked it on last night and Leeds' replay of the opening goal was being shown. So I missed the opening goal. Brilliant for them to start the game in that manner, given the drop points of the two previous games. Yeah, I wouldn't say made to sweat for it. I think another game where the opposition hardly mustered an attempt on Mellier's goal. So really comfortable. They lost Honeyman as well early, didn't they? Billy Mitchell coming on. So not ideal start to the game, but still relief, I think, when Tanaka's winning goal flies in beautifully. And now you got to say, on the face of recent results for the upcoming opponents, it's a pretty nice 3-game run now for Leeds to maybe just kick into gear. But going back to what I said a few moments ago, don't take anything for granted. But QPR away from home now is not probably the game it maybe would have been a few weeks ago.
It's surely, Sam, it's just focus for Leeds now. And that's easier said than done because we've mentioned many times how monstrous and intense that fan base can be and how big the pressure can be. But particularly, even if they were to draw at QPR at the weekend, and we got predictions elsewhere on the channel for that one, they're going to be at 80 points, Sam, with 8 games to go. They're likely to be, they will be top of the league, even if they draw that game. And I think for Leeds fans, it sounds like I'm giving them a pep talk here. It's just not getting distracted by that and kind of seeing the big picture, Sam, especially as you say, with the we've all looked at the fixtures and they've ticked off all the head-to-heads and whatnot. And we've got this run of games against Coventry for the other teams. Do you agree with me? It's kind of just a focus thing now, just head down, get it done. Draws aren't going to kill you as long as you respond with wins and you don't go crazy.
Yeah, well, you're going back to 30th of November since they last lost one of these narrow away games before Pompey at the weekend. Yeah. So these have been very sporadic this season in comparison to last year, where, if memory serves, they had 4 or 5 of them maybe before the turn of the year. So they've hugely improved in that regard. Albeit QPR was a sorry away performance at the tail end of last year, where QPR were absolutely superb, fighting for their lives again, if memory serves, and I've got the timeline right. So that will be relatively fresh in the memory. I think that was the night that the automatic promotion dream kind of started to falter. So yeah, they have to be a lot better than they were on that night. But QPR were a 9 and Leeds were a 5. I don't see that happening on the back of the Portsmouth defeat. Farke will be into them ahead of this one. And like I say, it's 3 games, which I expect them to take 7 points from minimum.
There we go. Right, Sam, you were at Bramall Lane on Tuesday night. So much going on. I'm trying to remember. And I think if Sheffield United had won 1-0, we would be coming away going, oh, that's it would have been the 15th time they've won by a single goal this season. And we would all be praising Chris Wilder and saying, how does he do it? He just keeps getting a tune out of them. And, they're keeping up with Leeds by hook or by crook. But for once this season, Sheffield United did not win a tight game. And probably Bristol City, I'm not going to say they deserved points from the game. They definitely deserved to score in the game, though, didn't they?
Oh, I think they deserved the draw. No question. I think it would have been a 10th 1-0 for Sheffield United and a 20th clean sheet, if memory serves me right. So I think they're still third in that regard, with Burnley and Leeds racking up so many clean sheets. But yeah, I felt after about 50, 55 minutes, I started to think, these 3 points are huge for Sheffield United tonight if they can get them, with Hillsborough on the horizon, obviously on Sunday. But the game from the outset really was a different game to the one that I anticipated. I know that Sheffield United aren't obsessed with having the ball, and they're a team that can just create moments in a quick flash with their brilliant array of attacking players, and how it has been through the last few weeks and months. But Bristol City were brilliant with the ball. I thought their midfield kind of quartet, that box midfield was really problematic for Sheffield United. We were scratching our heads how Bristol City were going to line up, really, and it was Bird a bit higher with Twine, Knight.
Sousa, didn't they, Sam?
They did in the first half. I think, kind of Chris Wilder alluded to that, and Chowdhury, short of minutes, they were a bit deep. And I just didn't think they got their setup right. I spoke about it so frequently during the commentary, but Roberts just stood completely unopposed on the left-hand side
every time.
for Bristol City. And I don't know why, Sariki didn't just get 1v1 up against him. Chowdhury just had to maybe take care of one of the number 10s and Peck. He just seemed to be getting drawn in field, Sariki, Raksaki high up the pitch, and therefore Hayden Roberts was in when acres. And I think if he had a bit more probably attacking impetus quality, Cameron Pring, had he been receiving the ball on the left-hand side, that ball would have gone in, maybe got a few more attempts away, because if there was one criticism of Bristol City, other than the Armstrong chance in the first half, they didn't have enough on Michael Cooper's goal for their supremacy. So I was really impressed with Bristol City. Sheffield United, I think, a little bit rocked by Sousa. You mentioned Arma Hodzic as well. Harmer needed a rest.
So that's the 3 best players in the team, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you put those 3 back in, they're a lot stronger going to the derby at the weekend. The best players the other night for me, the goalkeeper, brilliant save, and Campbell, 3 and 3 for him, but not supplemented with good enough performances elsewhere through the spine of the team. So that's where they need to improve. Sheffield Wednesday this weekend, and then likewise Leeds, a lot of games I expect them to win, Sheffield United. So I don't think a point's a disaster. I think it will be a cagey game at the weekend, but they need to try and take something to stay in close proximity with the other 2. Just to finish, Joe Williams, best player on the pitch for Bristol City the other night. After about an hour, I kind of got the stats relayed to me.
Did you get to choose the man in the match?
I did, yeah. Sometimes you don't get the opportunity to obviously talk about it in game because we had those 75 penalty appeals in the last 30 seconds, which, listen, there was a lot going on. And I think on reflection, I don't think there was probably a Stonewall penalty in the game. So it was right that they were probably waved away. And it was right that Sykes got the equalising goal on the balance of play. And Chris Wilder was incredibly honest afterwards. And well done to Liam Manning, whose team are, my goodness me, going to have to do it the hard way. Because I think statistically, only Millwall with a tougher run in. Bristol City have got to play all the big guns. If they get in the playoffs, fair play. But, you know, that looked like a confident team all the way until that final little bit. Can they just convert their good play into goals in the time that remains?
It's weird, Sam, because when we were sat there on Tuesday night, you're thinking at one point, right, this is on for Sheffield United now to really attack Leeds. Then with that late goal, and now we know that Leeds have won, you almost flip it round the other way and you say, well, it was pretty helpful for Sheffield United that Burnley didn't get a win, because that then keeps them 2 points clear. And then again, as you say, with the most emotional game you can possibly get, the Steel City derby coming up, even if they draw that, they're still going to be level on points there. We're not going to talk about the playoffs, but a lot of people really interested in West Brom being pretty brave on the ball and changing now under Tony Mowbray. So this is fascinating, and we'll come on to that next week, Sam. But it still took a hell of a free kick to score past Burnley. Bit of carnage at the end. They've got a few tricky fixtures. They've got Bristol City, as you mentioned, coming up, and Coventry. How are you feeling about Burnley right now? They're still on this massive unbeaten streak, aren't they?
Yeah, I suppose just because of the nature of the victory over Luton and, of course, the heavy defeat in the FA Cup, it's not been, you know, perfect for them the last few weeks, despite that, you know, thumping win over Luton ultimately. Not a great deal, it would seem, on either goal. Just 5 attempts on the target, just 15 attempts across the piece there. But I think that's what we anticipated. You know, West Brom are still pretty well set up defensively. That's not going to change. Obviously, Tony Mowbray, I think we anticipate them being a little bit more attack-minded and probably having a little bit more creativity. 2 players I really like. I remember interviewing John Swift a few years ago when he was just a young'un. I think one of his maiden loan spells at Swindon. And I know how highly thought of he was at Chelsea coming through and how they all keep an eye on him still. And I think at one time, he was probably one of the best creators in the Championship, along with Jed Wallace. I think that was my kind of stock line when they were able to recruit both of those, 2 of the best providers, best assist makers, creative sparks in the Championship. So I think he's been good at spells recently under Mowbray. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised by that. And Burnley, you know, able to get a point out of a difficult-looking game, and you'd expect them to go on now and win at Swansea. But yeah, just these drop points are just keeping them slightly south of the other 2 currently. But I hope they maintain their form, and I hope we get this colossal shootout into the last few days of the season.
It's almost guaranteed now, Sam, isn't it? But we will get on to that. I think we'll probably get on to that next week when we've got no games to talk about in the international break. We'll get Sam's take on how he sees it all playing out. But yeah, it's obvious even by looking at the league table. It's just the amount of draws. And when you make the direct comparison to Sheffield United, who always win tight games, and Burnley have drawn so many, then it will be pretty obvious if they are a point or 2 short. But as you've mentioned, maybe the nicest fixture, are they at home to Swansea?
At Swansea, yeah.
Okay, maybe not, but certainly the nicest opponent, whereas, you know, Leeds are going to QPR, which can be a bit tricky, can't it? And they're going early after playing on Wednesday night and having played on Sunday as well. And obviously the Sheffield United game is hard, no matter where Sheffield Wednesday are on the table. Just quickly on Sunderland, Sam, they'd gone back-to-back wins, came up against, I was going to say a dogged Preston, but Emil Rees probably could have scored a hat-trick in this game from the highlights package that I saw. I don't want to patronise Sunderland and Sunderland fans, Sam, because we've lavished praise on them rightly this season. But my stock line, to use a Parkinism there, is they just need to still be in it at Easter. They're 8 points off it now. That's too far, isn't it? At what point? Well, hopefully not ever for the Sunderland fans. But at what point are you like kind of counting them out? Because they've got to go to Coventry as well at the weekend.
I think it would be one of the most incredible stories, up there with some of the incredible promotions we've seen in recent times. If they were to make it, I thought this was must win. I think for the reason that you just stated. If they could have been sitting here on 71 points, 6 points adrift of Sheffield United before the Sheffield Wednesday game this weekend, I'd still have given them a hope. But yeah, it's going to be some going to make it now. Incredible goal, one of the best goals aesthetically of the last few weeks in the Championship, no question. Coventry's a funny one, isn't it, at the weekend, because they were so limp in their performance at Derby. I think a lot of conversation about the setup of the team, the formation, changing back to the 4-3-3. Quite a few notable omissions for Coventry. I'd expect them to be stronger coming into this weekend and pumped up for a game against Sunderland, where I think I'm right in saying there's a bit of a needle between the two. I think going back a few seasons, I think I've said that before on the podcast. I remember them being, was it League One a couple of years ago, playing out a thriller, being a little bit of a rivalry developing there. So that's a good looking game ahead of the weekend. But yeah, I wouldn't 100% rule them out, but I thought they had to beat Preston. So there's my answer in that final line. Right.
Get your comments in on the top four. If you can make head nor tail of it in a sentence or a paragraph after just a crazy week. But for people like me and Sam who are neutral on this, it's still beautifully poised. We could do with Sunderland being a couple of points closer and having 4 teams in it, but then we'd be being absolutely spoiled. So Leeds fans, get in there. Blades fans, Burnley fans, Sunderland fans, we want to hear from all of you. And if you want to just keep the conversation going in the comments about the playoffs, be great to hear from. I mean, we didn't have wins for West Brom, Coventry or Bristol City. We did for Middlesbrough, Watford and Sheffield Wednesday, who are still only 5 points back. So you never know. Sam, let's go to the bottom of the table. This is just insanity. I don't know if maybe Fev can figure it out for us. The bottom 3 never win, all on the same round. Never. And I've been sat here for a few weeks, Sam, saying, I don't know whether we could just end up with a gap. And this could be a really boring promotion race, because what I was seeing was a lot of teams, from sort of 21st up or whatever, over a point per game. And then the bottom 4 nowhere near it. All of a sudden, even Plymouth, who we would kind of thought had got lost at the bottom there, they go and win at Pompey. Luton have won 2 in 3. Derby, fair play Eustace, out of his backside has just pulled 2 wins considering the injury crisis. They're on for a 9-point week. And you also got big wins for Hull and Stoke this past round. Terrible round for Cardiff and Oxford, who are the big victims in this. But where do we start with this, Sam? Can we start with Luton and Cardiff? Because that was an actual head-to-head. I promise you would have been commentating at the time. I was on the watch-along. When that was Cardiff 1, Luton 0, I was genuinely, this is curtains for Luton, because Cardiff were going to be 8 points ahead of them. And then all of a sudden, bang, bang, and it's only 2 points, and Cardiff have been suckered in. Are we finally going to get Luton moving towards the point per game now?
Oh, I couldn't possibly predict that after the amount of false dawns that there's been.
I've asked you that question too many times this season.
Yeah, I'm with you. A very good source says this was one of the worst opening 45 minutes of the season in the Championship.
This is me trying to figure out who that source is. I'll find out off air.
And lit up by some brilliant goals, wasn't it, in the second half? And I think, there was, some important changes, I think, from Bloomfield again. The 2 strikers struggling, and I think Brown came on and Ali came on, and it was Asgard pushed a little bit higher or being the support player who ultimately gets them the victory. Right. Cardiff, big problems, but I think going into that one, as kind of bullshit I was about Sunderland maybe needing to win to maintain their automatic promotion slight opportunity. Luton desperately needed to avoid defeat here. So it's a magnificent win. Can they build on it in the next game? That's the question now, because there's been so many games where you think they finally, even points where you think they finally turned a corner. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to find that consistency. I think when you're looking at it now, and we're going to come on to Derby, I'm sure you know what Derby are going to be. You know what their setup's going to be. You know how they're going to approach it. I don't still know from game to game what Luton are going to turn up, what is going to be the structure, what is going to be the formation, who is going to be their biggest threats. I think for Derby, we know, give or take, how they're going to try and reach salvation. So brilliant win, and the bench, I think, being utilised really well by Matt Bloomfield. And let's see if they can kick on from here.
Yeah, well, talk to me about Derby, because even after they'd won at the weekend, I did the hot takes and I was like, oh, well, they won, but, they kind of scored twice at the start of the game. And is it very viable? And they got loads of injuries. Well, it shut me up, didn't they, on Tuesday night, going and beating Coventry. And all you need is a bit of evidence to get the juices flowing on a Derby push, and beating Coventry. And the minimum they're going to get is a 6-point week. Who have they got at the weekend? So I've got Plymouth. Wow! I look forward to that one in the prediction. So it could get a 9-point week, and momentum and psychology is huge. And those 2 backs to the wall wins has changed my view on whether Derby could do it, because I thought they were a little bit stuffed before this weekend. Sam, how do you feel?
Yeah, absolutely. Completely with you. All of a sudden, you would put Cardiff, and they will come onto them, in grave danger. Oxford, of course. Stoke got a massive win last night. I think Oxford, having not won in 8, all of a sudden they're right back in the conversation. Derby, I'll let you try and work this out. They've beaten Coventry twice, 2-1 at the Rico, 2-0 on Wednesday night or wherever it was. They've had 3 shots on target.
That's a tremendous statistic.
Go on, you're going to work it out?
Who scored an own goal in one of the games? Yeah,
there was an own goal in
efficient Sam.
In a bit of a robbery, yeah. And if we want to just flick back to last week, 2 shots on target against Blackburn as well in that victory. So yeah, incredibly efficient. They're not going to all of a sudden become a ridiculously creative team full of goals, but Harrison Armstrong, by all accounts, loanee from Everton, they were crying out for creativity in January. I think particularly in the wide positions, he's a central midfield player, but very eye-catching performance from him. 2 eye-catching performances from him, and the midfield trio, Ibu Adams, and Thompson and Armstrong getting a lot of the plaudits. And Zetterstrom not really worked, was he? A couple of saves maybe late on against Coventry, but they were, miles away from the level they've been in some of the games. I know they've rode their luck during this brilliant run, but very, very, very good performance from Derby, harnessed with a goal and an assist, and massive game in Devon this weekend. It is down there, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, absolutely love it. We'll give Plymouth some flowers for going and winning at Pompey as well. They're up to 33, so they're 3 points off it.
Well, I'll give you my favourite stat of the midweek now.
Shoot.
So 2-1, Argyle win. Pompey 80%, give or take, Portsmouth possession. I've already recycled this on another podcast, so apologies if someone stumbles across this twice. Pompey, 548 accurate passes. I presume that's completed passes. Another word. How many for Plymouth Argyle in their 2-1 victory? 548 accurate passes for Pompey. Bearing in mind, Pompey aren't a team that, dominate the ball, let's say.
Got to be over 100, hasn't it, Sam?
Is that your answer?
Over 100, surely.
74.
Well played, Plymouth, then. Fair play for getting that done.
And everything I've read, from Portsmouth supporters, pretty balanced. Yeah, they did a bit of a job on us. Not one of the worst teams we've seen at Fratton at all this season. So it shows you, doesn't it? Sometimes statistics can hugely skew what you see in the stadium.
Messinio was very humble about it in the post-match. He said, hang on a minute. All of a sudden, we were the team that was allowed to just have the ball. It's normally us,
Yeah.
doing the pressing, and
It's
that
been a
won't
little
happen.
bit of when you consider the only 2 defeats for Pompey maybe in the last 2 or 3 months at home have been against Millwall and Argyle,
There you go.
shows you it's a little bit of a problem, a little bit of a puzzle to be solved. But hopefully they're not going to have to worry about it too much because they got enough points on the board.
They do. Let's just round this out, Sam, with a little bit on Oxford Hull. Oxford are really, well, we thought they'd got safe, didn't we, with the new manager Bounce under Rowett, but they're on a horrible run. The goals aren't flowing. They were leading at Hull and they lost that one 2-1. I don't think it's subjective even to say Oxford are now back in trouble. I know it still take a 4-point cushion, which can take a long time down at the bottom there. But just quickly, Sam, when I'm looking at the bottom of the table and I see Muslik, Bloomfield and Reitzer in the dugouts for Plymouth, Luton and Cardiff, and then I see John Eustace, Gary Rowett and Mark Robbins, surely you want one of those really experienced heads when you're down there, don't you? Could that be the thing that makes the difference in the survival race?
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, I'm scratching my head really this morning. Probably been scratching it for the last couple of weeks about Oxford's plight, given how good they were or how good the points return was a few weeks ago. See, I saw them twice in quick succession and they weren't good, especially against Pompey at home, where they did a little bit of a job on them. But I think to see them kind of surrendering leads, not being as defensively stable as they have been, that's clearly going to be their strength, because I don't think that they're going to have a plethora of goals. I don't think they've brought in players that have hit the ground running, maybe in contrast to Salak at Cardiff, who is looking like he's going to be able to get goals for them. But no, I take your point, and I'd probably still rather be, where are we? Yeah, there's 3 points between them. I'd find it hard to envisage Cardiff finishing above Oxford. Yeah, that's the closest you're going to get to a prediction out of me this morning. But yeah, something needs to give. And I believe they play Watford at home at the weekend. If they are to lose that, they are, right back in trouble, I would suggest.
There you go. Get involved in the relegation scrap down there. Whatever you think, it's certainly a lot more interesting than it was 3 rounds ago. And we always say on this channel about the relegation scrap, there is no relegation scrap unless someone in the bottom 3 wins. And we have had 5 wins from the bottom 3 over the last 3 rounds. Incredible. Right. Let's finish this off, Sam, hopefully with a win for me, because spoiler alert, it didn't go so well for me in the predictions this midweek. But we're going to do Fev's quiz. Thanks as ever to Fev at Fev's Football Analytics on Twitter. Sam, are you ready for your question, buddy?
Yeah, can I get the league table up?
Of course.
Go on then.
Right. Which 6 teams have scored the most equalisers this season? So it's not who's had the most draws. It's who's been behind and then got back level the most times. You've got 5 guesses to get a maximum of 3. So which 6 teams essentially have been behind and equalised the most this season?
I don't even know where to start with that. Can
I give you some clues?
No, don't worry for the moment. Yeah, go on then.
Well, just think about resilience, because teams at the top of the table don't go behind very often, do they?
No, it's a good point.
It's especially a good point when I can see the answers in front of me as well.
I've no idea where to go with that. Resilience. No, not them. Bristol City.
Yes, it's a great start. Bristol City 11 times. They are joint 4th.
Okay, Bristol City.
You 1 for 1. It's a great start.
It's got to be West Brom, is it not?
No, it's not, because a lot of their draws were like clean sheety, weren't they? So that's 1 for 2.
How about Millwall?
No. 1 for 3. Come on, Sam.
No, it's too. There's too much going on here. Resilience, they go front. Norwich.
Norwich is a no. That's 1 for 4. I'm going to give you a big clue now. Think about this midweek round. There's some help from this midweek round. You've already got Bristol City, who obviously equalised this midweek round.
Yeah. Cool, you're putting on a plate for me here. Sheffield Wednesday.
There you go, Sheffield Wednesday. Not bad. I don't even know. Normally, I'm like, right, what am I looking at on the table to give this away?
I couldn't get my mind in the right place there to work that out at all because it's.
Well, Sheffield Wednesday were top, Sam, with 15 equalisers. Plymouth were they've obviously gone on and equalised and then lost games. They were second with 13. Sunderland, 12. Oxford, 12. Middlesbrough, who you wouldn't associate with resilience. So maybe that wasn't...
the good thing about all this is I'm not confident you're going to do much better. So, right, okay. Which 6 teams have lost the most points in the last 15 minutes plus injury time this season? 5 guesses to get you 3. Which 6 teams have lost the most points in the last 15 minutes plus injury time?
Do you know what? Sky put this up on a game I covered recently. So if I can think what game I covered... what did I do last week? Oh, damn, I can't. Well, I'm looking at the bottom of the table then. Let's start with Luton, who are always good for one of these.
Not there.
Oh, for God's sake, Sam. Swansea.
Not there.
I'm going to swear in a minute.
0 from 2.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, Sam. I'm stuck in, aren't I? How about... Norwich?
Okay, one team certainly conceded 1, possibly 2 in the last knock-ins the other day. I can't remember because I've not pored over it, but one team certainly conceded late.
Well, I just said Norwich, so I've got to be fair that I said that.
Norwich is there with 9, so they're joint fewest. Joint fewest. Okay. So there's 3 that have conceded more. So Norwich is there. So that's 1 from 3.
How about Derby?
Derby, yeah. They're equal with Norwich. They both conceded 9.
Okay.
So you got 1 team that's conceded the same, 9, and you got 3 that have conceded more.
Cardiff for the win.
Not there.
Ah, go on, put me out of my misery.
So you could have had Preston on 9 as well with Norwich and Derby, and then Middlesbrough 10, Bristol City 11, and then the worst, maybe the game you were doing, Sunderland 14.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it was Sunderland, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, we suck. What are you going to do? Thank you as ever to Fev for the questions. Go and give him a follow at Fev's Football over on Twitter. In the timeline, this is coming out after the predictions. So if you've already watched the predictions, fantastic stuff. Get involved in those, whichever way round you are doing it. And please, if you can make head nor hair of particularly the relegation battle, get involved in the comments. Next check-in podcast will be early next week and international break. So hopefully we'll have a bit longer because we won't have to do any predictions to take a broad look at what the hell is going to happen in the final 8 rounds. We'll see you then.